going to take some time to talk about indecent exposure and penis etiquette for men. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been counseling men and women for many years now who have been both victims and or perpetrators of abuse. I spent a significant amount of time working with sex offenders, and I want to take some time to talk about that a little bit with you all today. You know, a large part of, you know, there's many different hats you have to wear when you're working with sex offenders. You can never let your guard down. But a lot of times these men that I would work with that are sex offenders are highly impulsive, right? And their impulsivities would lead them to do things such as exposing their penis to staff, ripping off all of their clothes, of course, you know, engaging in sex crimes such as rape and things like that. And so, you know, I would hold a group. In this true story, I would hold a group with these men, and I would go over penis etiquette, and I would really, you know, anytime somebody got in trouble, you know, whether it's on my caseload or, you know, somebody else's caseload, I would take the opportunity to go over what's appropriate penis and sex etiquette, and you know, what's, you know, I would really hammer it in to them, you know, in terms of like, this is appropriate, this is not appropriate. And so I thought I would share that with you all because I know there's a lot of sexual stuff that kind of goes down on social media. And so one of the things that I would, you know, I would go over in class is, you know, and talk about when is it appropriate to pull your penis out, right? And like, you know, and we would go over like, hey, it's only okay to do things, your penis should only be out when you're in the bathroom or you're in the privacy of your own home, right? And you're not offending anybody, right? And there, we go into the circumstances around that, right? Because if you got a cellie, your cellie doesn't want to see that, this, that, and the other thing, unless you guys have that type of relationship. When we talk about, you know, you only need to have your penis out then, and then we talk about ways in which you would use the bathroom, because, you know, some of the men would join in, and men can be very particular in prison about cleanliness and things like that, right? So they would be like, you have to pee sitting down, right? Because we don't want your pee everywhere, all that kind of stuff. And then we would go over like, you know, in prison, you know, the way, and anybody who's done time should know this, your hands are always supposed to be on the table where I can see them, right? Sometimes I would allow them to put their hands on their laps, but even then it's kind of, I don't know about that, you know. So their hands are always supposed to be on the table where I can see them, and the minute their hands start creeping down, I'm like, what's going on there? Where are your hands? They need to go back on that table where I can see them. Right? And so I need to see what you're doing at all times, right? And so we would go over where your hand's supposed to be, right? And then, you know, when is the only time that your hands are supposed to be in your pants, right? The only time your hands are supposed to be in your pants is when you're going to the bathroom in the privacy of your own home, or, you know, to a public restroom or whatever. But then that's the only time your hands need to be in your pants, and that's the only time you need to be in that crotch area, like digging, whatever, digging, scratching, all that kind of stuff, right? You're supposed to be in private. And then we kind of go over like, you know, what are you supposed to do after you have touched your penis, right? You have to wash your hands, you have to sing the happy birthday song, and you have to wash your hands with what? Soap and water. So you have to you have to rub it together. We kind of go over that. And then, you know, there were sometimes there would be men that would like to, you know, sort of, you know, hike their leg up or kick their leg up, and it would be, you know, when is the only time that you're supposed to like kick your leg up or hike it up like that? You know, the only time you're supposed to kick your leg up is when you're in the shower and you use soap and water and you're wiping, you know, you're washing the hot spots. And we would go over how to wash the hot spots. But the other thing would be, you know, masturbation. when are you supposed to masturbate, right? Because there would be people, unfortunately, there would be people that would try it and masturbate to staff, which is the ultimate form of disrespect. And they know that they're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to be masturbating to staff. And, even for the child sex offenders, and this, we would kind of go over, like, are you supposed to be masturbating to children and things like that on television? This is a real conversation. Trigger warning for that. And so we would kind of go over, like, what's the appropriate etiquette. You're supposed to be in your home or in your room, right? In this case, in the privacy of your own cell, and under the covers, and nobody is supposed to see it. And then we would kind of go over, when is the only time that you should be taking your clothes off, right? Like, when are you supposed to be disrobing, right? You're not supposed to take your clothes off in front of an officer or somebody who's made you mad, and like exposing yourself, things like that, or just whatever. Or you're not supposed to be doing it to shock somebody. Like, you're supposed to keep all hands, feet, and other objects inside your clothes until it's appropriate. And when is it appropriate? Okay, well, when you take a shower, so when you're showering, you're washing, and then you get out and then you put your clothes on, or when you're, in your house, and then you could be out of your clothes that you're supposed to wear. So we would go over that. And then, so there would be, a lot of times we would have to, I would have to walk on the tiers, or, go visit men in their cells and things like that. Or, I would go outside, and, when I go outside, men could sort of like pop up, if they have like questions or whatever, or they're stressed out, and then they could just sort of walk up to me and then like talk, right? But there's rules about walking up to me and things like that. Like, whenever you walk up to me or whenever you want to talk to me, you have to have your clothes on. Because there's men that would like be outside working out and things like that, and then they'd be like, "Hi, Dr. Jones," and then no shirt and things like that. You're not supposed to approach without a shirt on, right? So before you even think about running up on me, you have to have all of your clothes on. And so that would be, a conversation like that. That would be that. And then, or sometimes I would have to go by and do tier walks and go to their house, right? I said, when I knock on that door, I'm not going to look in the glass right away. I'll give you, you let me know if you're decent or not, and then we can have a conversation. If you're not decent, we don't need to be talking until you're decent, right? Or, unfortunately, when you do the tier walks, they have like showers and things like that in the middle of like the tier. So sometimes you might be walking from one cell to another, and it's unavoidable because, you usually on one way up and one way down. So you might have to walk past somebody that's showering. Sometimes people want to have a conversation when they're in the shower. All of a sudden they got something that they want to talk about. No, you're not supposed to talk to Dr. Jones when you're in the shower. We got nothing to talk about when you're in the shower, and I'm not coming over there to talk to you, right? You wait until you're dressed, you're fully presentable, and then you can come down, and then we can shower, right? And so we would go over that. Then, of course, like I said, when you go up the tiers, you have to walk up the steps. Sometimes people would try to be creepy and linger under the steps, right? And I wear a skirt. Normally, when I worked at prison, I wore tights and things like that. So they really couldn't see anything. But the whole premise was, let me see if I can watch, you walk up the steps so I can see under your dress. No, you need to be off to the side. You're not supposed to stand under the steps. You're not supposed to look under my dress. Right. And, so those would be things that I would go over. And, again, I'm kind of being nice about it with you all, but I have to be firm about it with them. And, because, indecent exposure, any sort of sex offense with these guys, it should not be taken lightly. You have to be firm, and you have to be clinical, but you also have to be a disciplinarian, and you have to let them know that this is serious business and I will report you. So I hope that helps to talk about some things, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Thanks so much for watching.